Hi, I'm Dr. Linda Joy Rose of Raw Fusion Living. I was inspired by many of Living Tree Community's fantastic products to bring you this chocolate hazelnut cream pie. And one of the great products that a lot of people, perhaps like myself, was a little intimidated at first to use when I became a raw foodist is Irish moss. And I have to say, I've used a lot of Irish moss, but this is the cleanest, the easiest to use. And what you do is you take about a handful of Irish moss and you soak it for a few hours in water, and it expands, and then you want to rinse it because if there's any impurities, you're going to wash them out. And then you put them in your Vitamix or your blender, whatever blender will work, with about 3 times the amount of water, and just blend it until there's no graininess in it. And then just put it in a jar, let it sit in the refrigerator for a few hours, and it gets to be like this. It gets to be just like a gel. And you can use this. This is what's going to make a cream pie. You can use this in puddings and mousses and all kinds of wonderful things. And here's the other thing too. It's great to have a lot of sea vegetables as part of your raw food or raw fusion diet because they supply iodine, which is very important. Irish moss, which is also called carrageenan, has vitamin A, B, C, and D, and it's also one of the only vegan sources of taurine, which is an amino acid. So great product from Living Tree Community. So I started out actually by making a hazelnut mash, hazelnut milk, and these are Oregon hazelnuts from Living Tree Community, and they're one of the lowest saturated fat nuts of all, kind of like almonds. And so as you squeeze it through your nut milk bag, you're going to wind up, I started out with about 1.5 cups of these hazelnuts, and of course you want to soak them for at least 6 hours, but better overnight. And I have this, the mash, and we're going to mix this in. First of all, I think what I'm going to do is just I'm going to use about 1.5 cups of walnuts too to make the crust. And what I'll do is just pulse it. I always think it's a good idea when you're starting with a large nut to pulse it a little bit before you put the rest of the ingredients in. All right, so we have our hazelnut mash. This out of the way, and we're just going to add a little bit, about 4 tablespoons of agave, and you can use whatever sweetener you prefer for this. And we have some of this fantastic this wonderful vanilla powder that also comes from Living Tree Community, and just a little pinch of salt. And then I like to add, this is just optional, but I really like to put some shredded coconut in the crust too. So I'm going to put the coconut in there. And let's just blend it up. It doesn't need to blend for very long. There we go. And we're going to make a crust. All right, you're going to take a pie plate, and I'll just move this over here. And of course you want to put something, I just use some coconut oil I rubbed on there. And we're going to just pour this in here. And you could make it as simple or as fancy as you'd like. I figure I've already got the fluted edges here on this bowl. All right. Okay, I want it to come up to the sides. I'm gonna probably spend a little less time on this one because I have a really pretty one to show you too. All right, just wipe my hand. And now we're gonna make the chocolate cream filling. We're starting out with 1.5 cups of that hazelnut milk. Now what I like to do is when I make nut milk, I like to use these kind of batter bowls because it makes it very easy. So I've got 1.5 cups of the hazelnut milk, and we're going to add the rest of the ingredients. We've got 1/3 cup of raw cacao powder, also from Living Tree Community. And this is another really great, lecithin is great for rounding out the flavors, and this is a totally non-GMO form of lecithin made from rice. Okay, gonna add that in there too. A little more of that vanilla powder that we have. Touch of salt. We're gonna put in 2/3 cup of coconut oil, and we got about 1/4 cup is about 6 dates. Of course, I've taken the pits out. And finally, we have our Irish moss. That's about 2/3 cup that we're using in here. And let me see. Oh, we've got some agave, about 1/4 cup of agave. We're just going to blend this all up and pour it into our crust. Whoops, the wrong. Really only needs to blend for about 40 seconds or so. And just pour it in. Now what I do is I cover it with a wrap and I let it set for about an hour, and then I like to sprinkle some coconut. Look at this beautiful chocolate hazelnut cream pie with coconut on it. And this is really going to impress your friends and family. I'm Dr. Linda Joy Rose of Raw Fusion Living for Living Tree Community. Make sure to check out our website for daily recipes for mind, body, and spirit.